Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Now, as we know, a couple of days ago, the courts ruled that the regulations under level 4 and level 3 in South Africa are unconstitutional and irrational. Well, that's self-evident. But the government is fighting back. And what are the government's options? Let's have a look at that. On the 15th of March 2020, the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, declared a national state of disaster in South Africa. This, Dlamini-Zuma said, was done after considering the magnitude and severity of the COVID-19 outbreak, which has been declared a global pandemic by the World Health Organization. She added that Mafaka Tau, head of the National Disaster Management Center, had also classified COVID-19 pandemic as a national disaster. The National Disaster Declaration was immediately followed by restrictions on certain activities and later resulted in a national lockdown on the 27th of March. Dlamini-Zuma made the declaration under Section 27.1 and Section 27.2 of the Disaster Management Act of 2002. Section 27 of the Disaster Management Act states, amongst other things, a national state of disaster that has been declared in terms of subsection 1 elapses 3 months after it has been declared. B. May be terminated by the Minister by notice in the Gazette before it lapses. And C. May be extended by the Minister by notice in the Gazette for 1 month at a time before it lapses. This means the current national state of disaster is set to lapse on the 15th of June, which will leave the government with the option to extend or to end the state of disaster. A legal expert, Daniel Pretorius, a partner of Bowman's, was asked for feedback about the issues related to the national state of disaster. Pretorius confirmed that the national state of disaster is set to lapse on the 15th of June, 3 months after it was declared. When the national state of disaster lapses, it means that the current alert level 3 lockdown regulations will no longer be enforced. Now let's remember that the ANC government have got until the 16th of June to actually come up with regulations that do not breach the Bill of Rights. That's going to be interesting. Anyway, let's continue. Pretorius said, the regulations will only remain in force for as long as there is a state of disaster. If the state of disaster is not extended, the regulations will lapse. What is likely to happen is that Minister Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma will extend the state of disaster for 1 month at a time. Pretorius said there is no restriction on the number of times a minister may extend the state of disaster. This means Dlamini-Zuma can extend the state of disaster 1 month at a time for as long as she deems it necessary. And one of those options is obviously to fight COVID-19 pandemic. But with this ANC government, who knows what they're doing? There is also the option of the declaration of a new national state of disaster declaration for 3 months with a new set of regulations. However, the North Gauteng High Court recently declared the Alert Level 3 and Alert Level 4 lockdown regulations invalid and unconstitutional. Judge Norman Davis ordered the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, or COGTA, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, to review, amend and republish the regulations, and also said she must carry the costs of the complainants, which is obviously a bit of a thorn in her side. And the reason she said she's going to be challenging the decision. Yeah, she is such a tight, you know what. Anyway, continuing. This must be done with due consideration to the limitation each regulation has on the rights guaranteed under the Bill of Rights. Dlamini-Zuma has 14 business days to comply with the order to change the Level 3 and Level 4 lockdown regulations. What is significant is that the date on which the new regulations must be published is after the date on which the national state of disaster will elapse, which is on the 15th. Dlamini-Zuma will therefore have two main options if she wants to continue with the enforcement of the lockdown to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. These are: 1. Extend the national state of disaster before it lapses, and then review, amend, and republish the regulations within the 14-day period as per the court order, or 2. Declare a new state national disaster with a new set of regulations which will, unlike its predecessor, pass the rationality test. There is also the option of declaring a state of emergency, but this is also open to legal challenges and has a few restrictions. A state of emergency is a 21-day measure that may be extended by Parliament for no more than 3 months at a time. The extension also requires a 60% majority in the House from the second extension onwards, Merton said. The government may also appeal the High Court ruling in the hope of a more favourable ruling. Constitutional law expert Pierre de Vos said, if the government appeals, it will automatically suspend the judgment, which means the regulations will remain in place. On appeal, I think part or most of the judgment can be overturned because of the legal and technical manner in which the arguments were phrased, he said. Cabinet spokesperson Formula Williams said Cabinet will study the judgment and will make a statement afterwards. So there you go, guys. There are the options open to COGDA chairperson Dlamini-Zuma. Let's see what happens. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe.